Let's we've talked about Burnett. We've mentioned Kevin Riley.
Yes.
Let's look at some running backs this week. The running back board. We think Auburn's going to take 2. We've heard some names. There's some familiar names. Obviously, Jamarian Fat Burnett being one of them. I'm almost tired of hearing his name, but he's certainly on there. But
right.
I'm intrigued with Kevin Riley, the 4-star running back from Tuscaloosa County. I believe his mother is employed at the university.
Correct.
I have not confirmed that, but I've seen it mentioned several times. Who else? We know Daniel Hill from Mississippi is a stud. The kid Cole mentioned as a guy to watch for. I think he's from South Alabama.
Yes, Royal. I think it's Ronnie Royal.
Yes, the third, Ronnie Royal the third. So, Jayhead, talk to us about your running back board. Where do you have it right now? Who are some guys you're tracking?
So right now, I've got it as 5 names to know, and Ronnie Royal is an honorable mention along with Brandon Hood. Those guys are at the bottom of my list of guys that I'm kind of watching that are athletes / running backs. But number 1 on my list, and I actually think he may be number 1 on Auburn's list, is Kevin Riley. Now, for those that are familiar with SEC ball and in the early 2000s, when you watch this kid's tape, he looks a lot like Jarius Norwood from Mississippi State, who went on to play for the Atlanta Falcons. Around 6 foot, just under 200 pounds, but a very physical runner. Has the ability to make reads blocks extremely well, runs with good power, probably low 4.5s, high 4.4 speed. So he's got the ability to hit the home run. Really a complete back, catches the ball very cleanly out of the backfield. They don't highlight him a lot doing that or use him a lot, but when he does, he excels at it. So a really good fit for a Philip Montgomery, Hugh Freeze offense as far as the kind of back you're looking for, a very complete back. But really like the explosion that he has. Number 2, Daniel Hill. You just talked about him. He's a freak show. He's a guy that can play linebacker. He's a guy that can play wide receiver. He can play running back. He can do a multitude of things for you. I have a really high grade on him. I'm a fan of his game. Competition stiff. I think right now he's currently, as far as RPM day goes, is now projected to the University of Alabama. Ole Miss is going to be in that for any Mississippi prospect. Ole Miss and Mississippi State are going to be in the mix there. LSU, Tennessee, Georgia, and Auburn all are in the mix for him. The next name is Jamarian Fat Burnett. We don't need to talk about that one anymore. We've digested that one enough. The next name to me is a guy that visited for the junior day, and that's Kayan Daniels. A guy that probably wanted a little bit more individual time than he had the opportunity to get, but I think he's going to be coming back for a spring practice, if I remember correctly, and a guy that will get the opportunity to get that one-on-one time with Cadillac Williams, which is what he wanted. Unfortunately, Cadillac was sick for that junior day, so he couldn't be there, but he'll get a chance to come back on campus, get the full exposure being in the running back room, see how Carnell coaches, and we'll be able to catch up with him there. But I like him as a system fit. And I think as a guy that could be potentially a number 2 guy in this class, I like that one. And then the last name is Chris Davis, who I think was the MVP at the Atlanta Under Armour camp for the running back room. He's a lighter back at around 180, but really excels in the passing game. I think he's got a lot of explosion as well, and somebody that could be that home run piece for you, and probably a perfect complementary back and change of pace back. And then you've obviously got Brandon Hood and Ronnie Royal that I'm also watching. But those are 5 to 7 names I think that you should, if you're an Auburn fan, you should be tracking as far as our running back recruiting is concerned.
Who was number 5?
Chris Davis.
Oh, man.
Not kick 6 Chris Davis. But
no, I was going back and forth with him. He has yet to set up a visit to Auburn, but he is planning to. Kanan Daniels, that's the kid from West Point?
Yes.
West Point, Mississippi?
Yes, that's him.
Okay. Is he the one who I interviewed somebody after that big junior day? We interviewed a lot, but there was one dude who was like, who was that guy who said
that was him? He was a little upset. Yeah, it was him. He was kind of like, hey, there were so many kids here. It was hard for me to kind of get the opportunity, and then Cadillac wasn't there, so it was just a little bit disappointing. But he did like it, and he is coming back for a spring practice. Is my understanding. So we'll see what he has to say coming out of that. I think I like him better as a projection than maybe what he's had to say to this point. But we'll see kind of how that shakes out after he comes back.
They're basically in my top right now. That's what he said after that junior day visit.
Yep.
Okay, good to know. I'll be checking up on him. Brandon Hood, man, I always forget about him.
Love that kid. Now, he sustained an injury his junior year. I think he tore his ACL after about 5 or 6 games into the season, which is why a lot of teams haven't offered to this point. I know Penn State's seen as the RPM favorite, and they do have an offer out to him. I think if he had been able to play his full junior year, he'd have an Auburn offer at this point. But people kind of want to see how he's going to perform coming off an injury before they go all in.
Fair enough. Fair enough.